I've never said this out loud before. Not to the camera, not to the fans, not even to the guys. And honestly, I didn't think I ever would, but something happened recently. A tremor that ran through the foundations of my life and threatened to crack everything I'd painstakingly built. It really shook me. It forced me to look at myself differently, to look at them differently, my family. And when I say family, I don't just mean the people who raised me. I mean my real family. The ones I was born into and the ones I chose. The members. BTS. I always thought I knew how this story would go. You work hard. You achieve success beyond your wildest imaginings. You build a life. You find a love that is honest and quiet. You get married. Your family is proud. They welcome the person you love with open arms. And it becomes this beautiful, anticipated next chapter. But that's not what happened. That is decisively not my story. What actually happened was the complete opposite. And the part that hurts most is that I understand them. I truly do. I understand why they reacted the way they did, but just because you understand someone doesn't mean the pain hurts any less. And that's why I'm sharing this now. Not to assign blame, not to point fingers at anyone, but because I need to breathe again. I need to stop carrying this immense, suffocating weight in silence. Like I always do. I know what most people see when they look at me. The singer, the performer, the golden matinee. The guy whose smile is always bright on stage, the one who hits every impossible note, who shatters records, who meticulously works out every day, the one who seems to have an effortless grip on his world. But here's what they don't see. I'm also the guy who lies awake at 3 a.m., staring at the dark ceiling, wondering if choosing to simply love someone means I have to lose everything I've built with my own 2 hands. Wondering if being truly happy means I inevitably have to disappoint someone else. My mother, my brothers, the millions. Wondering if there's even a single version of my life where I get to keep both my love and my legacy. I hadn't expected the news to travel as fast as it did, or to cause such immediate shockwaves. I hadn't even prepared an official announcement, a carefully worded statement. I just mentioned it casually, slipping it into the conversation over dinner at my parents' house. It wasn't even a dramatic planned reveal. I just said, as I reached for a dish, "There's someone I love, and I think I want to spend the rest of my life with her." That's all. That's exactly what I said, and the silence that followed it was devastatingly loud. I know that sounds like a contradiction, a cheap metaphor, but I swear, I have never heard silence so sharp, so heavy in my entire life. My mom just stared down at her plate, her fork still mid-motion. My dad's fork froze mid-air, a solitary piece of food hanging suspended. My brother blinked, slowly, like he truly believed he must have misheard the simple Korean words. And then my mother finally spoke. Her voice was thin, fragile. "Are you serious?" Not an accusation, not raw shock, just fear. I could hear the deep-seated fear in her voice. Not fear for me, but fear of this version of me she didn't recognize. The impulsive, the ordinary, the man who was finally making a decision for himself. It hit me like a physical blow, a speeding truck, because I realized right then that she'd been clinging to this perfect, untouchable image of me for years. Her youngest son, who didn't make reckless decisions, who didn't rush into irreversible things, who always thought 10 steps ahead, who always put the group and the country first. And in 5 seconds, with one simple sentence, I had just shattered that entire, beautiful, golden-plated image. She didn't say much else, only that she needed time to process the magnitude of the news. My dad, he didn't raise his voice or get angry. He just sighed, that long, profound, world-weary kind of sigh that people do when they've already made up their mind about an impossible truth. And he said, "Do you really think you can live 2 lives, son?" That single, simple sentence is still playing in my head. A persistent, mournful background music I can't find the off switch for. But the part that surprised me the most, the part that made my heart ache in a way I can't even begin to describe, was how the members reacted. I thought they'd be the first to genuinely say congratulations, that they'd tease me relentlessly, maybe give me a little bit of good-natured crap about it, like brothers always do, but then they'd hug me, hard and fast. That's the script I'd written in my head. But when I told them, something subtle, yet powerful, shifted in the room. Not instantly, not violently, but slowly, like the air being imperceptibly sucked out. They didn't say anything bad, not a single word of caution or discouragement. They just didn't say anything at all. Taehyung looked down at his hands, studying them intensely. Jimin just nodded, a small, tight movement. Namjoon tried to manufacture a smile, but it fell short, not reaching his wise, worried eyes. Yoongi didn't even bother to look up from his phone. His silence was the most damning of all. Hobie forced out a quick, "Too bright. That's great, man." And Seokjin cracked a joke that instantly died in the air, a punchline without laughter. It was like they were all trying, desperately, to protect me from the raw, real sight of their collective reaction. And that's when the truth hit me, cold and clear. This wasn't going to be simple. This wasn't just about love or marriage or me deciding to be happy. This was about what my choice meant for all of us, what it symbolized to the industry, what it inherently risked. Because in this hyper-focused, fragile industry, marriage isn't just a personal, private choice. It's a seismic headline, a potential scandal, a radical shift in public perception, a looming downfall, and I could see that dreadful, career-defining realization flash in every single one of their eyes. I walked home that night, the city lights blurred by the unshed tears in my eyes, not knowing if I had just destroyed the beautiful, chaotic world I loved. You know what the crazy, twisted thing is? I wasn't scared to tell them the truth. I was scared that they wouldn't feel anything at all, that they'd already emotionally moved on from me, that they were ready to see me go, to step away from the center. But their devastating silence told me the opposite. They cared too much, perhaps more deeply than I deserved. And that made the pain worse, because now the impossible choice was laid bare. I had to choose between my personal happiness and their collective peace, between following the call of my heart and honoring the loyalty I owed them, between the woman I love and the men who literally forged me into who I am. There was one night, about a week after the ill-fated dinner, that I couldn't sleep. The anxiety was a living thing, crawling under my skin. I kept pacing the perimeter of my apartment. Every wall felt like it was physically closing in on me. So I impulsively grabbed my keys, threw on a dark hoodie, and drove. I drove to the practice room we used to rent during our grueling training days, the one with the old, peeling mirror and the single, flickering, fluorescent light. It was 2 a.m. The city was asleep, and blessedly, no one was there. I connected my phone to the dusty speakers and put on a playlist from 2015, our early, raw stuff, the pre-debut tracks that sounded more like ambition than polished music. I started dancing like a man possessed, a desperate, frenetic energy surging through me, not for the camera, not for anyone to applaud, just to feel something true, something physical, something that wasn't panic. And halfway through a forgotten, demanding routine, I just collapsed right there, right in the center of the cold, dusty floor. I started crying, like actually crying. The kind of crying you can't control, the sound that scrapes out of your chest, not just the tears that stream from your eyes. Because in that terrible, honest moment, I wasn't Jeon Jungkook, the global idol. I wasn't Jungkook, the superstar, the record breaker. I was just Jeon Jungkook, a 20-something guy who loved someone deeply and honestly and didn't know if that was something he was allowed to be. I called Jimin that night. He didn't pick up. I called him again, letting it ring until the voicemail cut in. Still no answer. I sent a single, desperate text into the void. "Hyung, am I doing the wrong thing?" He didn't reply. That silence, his silence, cut deeper than anything anyone had said out loud. I think the hardest part wasn't their quiet disapproval. It was the crushing feeling that maybe they were mourning me in advance, treating me as if I was already gone, like I was already choosing another life, another divergent path, one they physically couldn't follow me down. And maybe, in a way, I was. I'm not proud of how I handled the immediate aftermath. I completely shut down. I stopped replying in the group chat. I skipped 2 crucial rehearsals, citing a vague illness. I turned down a major, shared interview we were all supposed to do together. I simply disappeared, because if I couldn't have their full, immediate blessing, I didn't know how I was supposed to show my face to them, to the world. But then something entirely unexpected happened. Namjoon called me. I didn't want to pick up. My hand hovered over the screen, ready to decline the call. But something deeper, something in my soul, made me swipe to answer, and all he said was 2 words. "Come home." Not the lecture I deserved. Not, "What are you doing?" Not, "Are you crazy?" Not, "Let's figure out how to fix this." Just, "Come home." And I cried again, the tears coming back with renewed force, because he didn't say I was wrong. He didn't say I was right, either. He just said, "I still belong." That single word, home, has never hit me with such force. I'm still figuring it out. Still standing, paralyzed, in the confusing, messy middle of it. But if there's one profound truth I'm starting to learn, it's that being loved doesn't always, or even often, mean being understood. And being profoundly misunderstood by your world doesn't automatically mean you are unloved. My family and my brothers didn't react the way I had always dreamed they would, with immediate, joyful affirmation. But maybe they reacted how they genuinely needed to. Maybe they were scared too. Scared to lose me to a life that wasn't theirs. Scared to lose us, the irreplaceable seven, to a single person. Scared of the world changing and moving faster than we could possibly process. And the beautiful, terrifying thing about love, real love, is that it's not always thunderous applause. Sometimes it's heavy silence. Sometimes it's a necessary, painful distance. Sometimes it's deep-seated fear in an uncomfortable disguise. And sometimes, the most loving thing someone can possibly do is to give you the space to walk your own difficult path, even if they can't bring themselves to follow you immediately. I don't have all the answers yet. I don't even know what the very next step is. But I do know this for a certainty. I'm done hiding the truth. And I'm done performing a strength that I don't always feel. So, yes, this is me, Jungkook. In love, scared, confused, still fiercely loyal, still trying, and still fundamentally theirs. It's weird, you know, how one simple sentence, "I'm getting married," can feel infinitely heavier than an entire decade-long globe-spanning career. I have faced global stages, millions of judging, adoring eyes, stadiums so loud that I literally couldn't hear my own thoughts above the roar, and yet nothing felt as loud, as deafening, as the silence I walked into after saying those four simple words. You think you're fully prepared for it. You think you're grown enough, mature enough. You think you've earned the sacred right to choose your own life, your own person, your own forever. But what they don't tell you, what you can only learn in the moment, is that the people who love you most, who built their world around you, will sometimes be the ones who fear your necessary change the most. Not because they don't love you, but precisely because they do. And your evolution feels exactly like their profound, unbearable loss. After Namjoon said, "Come home," I did. But not right away. I drove around for almost an hour, letting the familiar cityscape rush past the window. I drove through the places that still hold our collective footprints, our sweat, our late night, hysterical laughs, our rookie year fears, the cheap ramen shop we used to sneak off to after late night practices, the dark, concrete bridge we stood under when we made that solemn pact to never let anything, ever, tear us apart. I passed them all, each one echoing back a different version of me, a younger version, a freer version, a version that hadn't yet realized how complicated and terrifying love could be. And I kept asking the silent question, is marriage a betrayal of my dedicated past self, or a hard-won reward for surviving everything he couldn't even begin to imagine? I finally walked into the dorm. I didn't even knock. The front door was cracked open a little, deliberately, like someone was expecting me, or maybe just hoping. The hallway light was on, dim, soft, as if it didn't want to startle me. Or perhaps, as if it understood I was already startled enough to break. Taehyung was the first to see me. He didn't say a word. He just looked up from the couch and nodded. A quiet, simple gesture that said, "Okay, you came. That's all we needed to know." And that solitary nod, that silent acceptance, meant more than any elaborate speech ever could have. That's the powerful thing about him. He doesn't force words when silence already says enough. Jimin came out of the kitchen, holding a glass of water, his eyes full of uncertainty. He looked at me like he genuinely didn't know what I needed. A hug, a punch, or simply space to breathe. And honestly, I didn't know either. So I walked past him, straight into the living room. I didn't sit on the couch. I sat down on the rug, the same worn, old rug we used to crash on after practice. Sweaty, laughing, yelling over who messed up which part of the choreography. I sat down and just stared blankly at the ceiling. Then I said it quietly, but loud enough for every single one of them to hear. I don't know what I'm doing. And that simple, vulnerable admission finally broke whatever brittle wall was still up between us. Jimin sat down immediately beside me. Hobi leaned over from the armrest. Seokjin shuffled his feet closer. Yoongi turned off the blaring TV with a decisive click, and Namjoon came and stood directly behind me, like a protective shadow that wasn't trying to follow, just trying to cover me like an emotional shield. And in that suspended moment, We weren't BTS. We weren't global icons. We weren't 7 million follower accounts or luxury brand ambassadors. We were just 7 boys. 7 men who had seen too much of each other's deepest truths to pretend we were fine. Namjoon finally sat down on the rug opposite me, looked me straight in the eye, and asked the only question that truly mattered. Do you love her? I didn't hesitate to. Yes. Does she love you? Yes. Is she ready for this life? He asked, his voice low, measured. And that was the one question I didn't have a straight, easy answer for. Because how do you explain this life to someone outside of it? How do you articulate what it's like to have every glance dissected, every sigh analyzed, for your quiet, private love to instantly become a screaming headline? For your personal life to become everyone's consumable content? So, I told them the hard truth. She's scared, but she's genuinely trying to understand. And they all nodded, slowly, gravely, like they knew that particular paralyzing feeling all too well. Then, Jimin said something that made my throat physically close up. He said, I was never scared of you getting married, Jungkookie. I was scared of you forgetting who you were before her. And that hit me harder than anything else. Because that's what it always comes down to, right? When someone you love changes and grows, the fear isn't about them moving forward. It's about you being left behind, trapped in a version of life they have already outgrown. I told him, I don't want to forget, but I also don't want to have to choose between remembering who I was and becoming who I desperately want to be. And he gave a small, weary smile. Then don't. Just bring us with you. And just like that, the suffocating fog in my head cleared a little. I wasn't choosing one life over the other. I was expanding. I wasn't replacing my first family. I was trying to make space for 2 families inside one, rapidly growing heart. And maybe that sounds naive. Maybe it is naive. But it's the only way I know how to love fully. With both hands open, with all my imperfections and scars showing. Later that night, after they had all quietly dispersed to sleep, I stayed in the living room alone. The lights were finally off. I was sitting with my legs crossed on the floor. Just sitting, not scrolling through my phone, not planning, not rehearsing, just breathing. And I realized how profoundly rare that is in my life, just breathing without having to perform it. I thought about her, about the way she looks at me like I'm completely enough, even when I feel like an internal, destructive storm. About how she listens without ever trying to immediately fix the problem. About how she still, miraculously, treats me like a complex human being and not a breaking headline. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that even if no one else on earth understands why I need her, I do. But that's when the next insidious wave of guilt hit me. If she accepts me so wholly, without conditions, have I ever genuinely accepted myself like that? I always thought I was chasing external greatness, but maybe I've just been running, terrified from being ordinary, running from the paralyzing idea that if I stop winning, I'll instantly stop mattering. That if I'm not Jungkook the performer, Jungkook the legend, Jungkook the youngest to do everything, then I'm simply no one, just a scared kid from Busan who's terrified of becoming invisible in the crowd. And maybe marriage isn't about escaping that fear. Maybe it's about finally being seen, truly seen, even when you have absolutely nothing left to prove. And maybe that's the terrifying, liberating honesty I need to finally let into my life. I picked up my phone and texted my mom. Simple, unadorned. Can we talk soon? She didn't respond immediately, but the next morning, I woke up to a single word from her. Always. And that word felt like an eventual forgiveness, like a slow dawning understanding that doesn't always come quickly, but that love, real love, will find its patient way through silence eventually. I don't have everything figured out. I still feel like I'm walking a dizzying tightrope between legacy and intimacy, between loyalty to millions and the soft, quiet whisper of one voice in the dark saying, "Come home." But here's what I know now, planted deep in my soul. I'm not choosing between them. I'm choosing me. And I'm trusting that the people who truly love me, my brothers, my family, my dedicated fans, will come to understand that me choosing myself doesn't mean I'm leaving them behind. It just means I'm finally, painfully walking toward a life that includes all the pieces of me. Even the ones I used to believe didn't deserve to be loved unless they performed first. It's strange how quickly people assume you're okay just because you showed up again. You return to the dorm, you manage a few laughs, you rehearse the demanding choreography, you hit your notes, and suddenly everyone assumes the storm inside you has completely passed. But it hasn't. It just learned how to wear quieter shoes. After I got that text from my mom, I kept staring at the word, always. It was so small on the screen, yet it felt like a heavy-duty lifeline, and maybe that's what I needed more than outright approval. Just a hand reaching back when I finally stopped running. I called her the next day. My hands were physically shaking. I know that sounds utterly ridiculous. I've held a mic in front of hundreds of thousands of people and barely blinked. But calling my own mother about this, that was genuinely terrifying. This wasn't a press release. It wasn't filtered through our meticulous PR team. It was real. Just her and me. She picked up fast. Too fast. Like she'd been holding her phone, waiting for the call. I started to speak, but she cut me off, her voice thick. "You're still my son." And I broke right there. On the phone. No filter, no script, no camera. Just her voice. And me trying not to fall apart in my own kitchen. She said she was scared. That she didn't know how to let go of the little boy who used to sleep with his head in her lap. That she worried I was choosing someone who didn't fully understand the magnitude of our life. That she was scared the world, my world, would turn on me. That love would instantly become a weakness to be exploited. But then she added this. "If she truly brings you peace, I will learn how to welcome her." And that meant everything. Because peace, real peace, is the rarest, most expensive commodity in my world. Everyone thinks this life is glamorous, and it has its moments, I won't lie. But peace? That's not something fame simply hands you. You have to fight for it. You have to carve it out of the noise. You have to find it in the desperate spaces between everyone's expectations. She asked if I could bring her home for dinner one day. Not to test her, she stressed, but just to start the slow, painful process of healing and joining. I said yes, and then immediately panicked after I hung up. What if it's impossibly awkward? What if my mom gives her that look? What if she gets overwhelmed by the history in the room? What if she feels like she'll never fit in with a family that was shaped by this strange, unforgiving, spotlight-filled world? But then I remembered something she once said to me after I told her about my family dynamic. She said, "I'm not trying to fit in. I'm trying to understand. There is a difference." And that profound sentence plays in my head whenever the fear starts to creep in. Because love doesn't mean erasing the incredible world I come from. It means studying it. It means standing beside me and saying, "Teach me your world." It means respecting that I'm not just a man. I'm a constellation of memories, responsibilities, trauma, and dreams, stitched together by 7 brothers, 2 parents, and millions of fans. The day before I brought her to meet my parents, I was a complete mess. I couldn't eat. I couldn't focus on anything. I was replaying every single possible outcome in my head, like a director trapped in editing hell, seeking a perfect, non-existent cut. I called Yoongi. Yes, I know. Unexpected, right? But he's the only one who gives me answers without meticulously sugarcoating them. "Hyung," I said, my voice tight. "What if she simply doesn't belong in this world?" And he said something I'll never, ever forget. "She doesn't have to. She just has to belong in yours." And that instantly shut me up, real quick. Because sometimes I forget. I'm not marrying the world. I'm marrying her. And if I can carry the crushing weight of this entire world on my shoulders for 10 years, surely I can carry love with 2 open, willing hands for the rest of my life. I brought her home the next evening. My heart was absolutely thudding in my chest like it wanted to climb out and escape through my throat. But when she walked in simple, graceful, a little nervous, but holding my hand tight, solid, I felt something fundamentally shift in the atmosphere. My mom bowed low, an act of respect. She bowed back, equally low. My dad looked at her, his eyes unreadable, and said, "Welcome." She looked him straight back, her voice clear. "Thank you for raising someone who loves so deeply." And that single powerful sentence broke every last wall in the room. Dinner was quiet at first, polite conversation building slowly like a structure. She complimented the side dishes, knowing the effort put into them. My mom asked where she learned to cook. My dad asked about her work. And then, somehow, laughter snuck in. Not loud, boisterous, performer-grade laughter, but real, genuine sound. And it was like watching a beautiful, inevitable winter slowly melt. After she left, my mom didn't say much to me. Just, "She's gentle, like you." And that, I knew, was her way of saying, maybe. Maybe I'll take that chance. I'll take every maybe if it means we're moving, however slowly, toward a final, affirmative yes. But just when I thought things were finally smoothing out at home, I got hit with something I wasn't nearly ready for. Army found out. It wasn't official. I didn't post anything. But someone said something to someone, and it instantly snowballed like everything else in this hyper-connected, instant judgment world. My DMs started flooding, thousands of messages a minute. Some were beautifully kind, supportive, messages that said, "You deserve happiness." But others cut deep, viciously, "You've changed. This isn't the Jungkook we love. Don't betray BTS like this." And that sentence, "betray BTS," it tore me apart because that's the last, most impossible thing I would ever do. BTS is in my blood. It's not a brand I represent. It's not a temporary product. It's a sacred, unbreakable bond, a brotherhood forged through tears, sweat, and sacrifices no one outside of it will ever truly understand. But it made me realize a cruel, ugly truth. To some people, I'm not allowed to grow. I'm not allowed to evolve organically. I'm frozen in time, a 20-year-old boy with perfect abs and a blank love life, a figure made for their dreams, but never allowed one of my own. And I get it. We've been with you through your darkest nights, and you've been with us through ours. But somewhere along the way, the necessary line between idol and individual got irrevocably blurred. So, let me be perfectly clear. I'm not walking away from BTS. I'm walking into the man I was always meant to become. And I pray that you'll walk with me, even if the road twists, because love doesn't erase who I've been. It just expands, powerfully, who I'm becoming. That night, I called Jimin again. He picked up this time, instantly. "Hyung," I whispered, my voice cracking, fragile. "Am I ruining everything?" And he said, his voice soft but absolutely certain, "No, Jungkookie, you're finally living." And that, right there, was the final, profound blessing I didn't know I was waiting for. I've never said this out loud before. Not to the camera, not to the fans, not even to the guys. And honestly, I didn't think I ever would. But something happened recently. A tremor that ran through the foundations of my life and threatened to crack everything I'd painstakingly built. It really shook me. It forced me to look at myself differently, to look at them differently, my family. And when I say family, I don't just mean the people who raised me. I mean my real family, the ones I was born into and the ones I chose, the members. BTS. I always thought I knew how this story would go. You work hard, you achieve success beyond your wildest imaginings. You build a life. You find a love that is honest and quiet. You get married. Your family is proud. They welcome the person you love with open arms. And it becomes this beautiful, anticipated next chapter. But that's not what happened. That is decisively not my story. What actually happened was the complete opposite. And the part that hurts most is that I understand them. I truly do. I understand why they reacted the way they did. But just because you understand someone doesn't mean the pain hurts any less. And that's why I'm sharing this now. Not to assign blame, not to point fingers at anyone, but because I need to breathe again. I need to stop carrying this immense, suffocating weight in silence, like I always do. I know what most people see when they look at me. The singer, the performer, the golden matinee, the guy whose smile is always bright on stage, the one who hits every impossible note, who shatters records, who meticulously works out every day, the one who seems to have an effortless grip on his world. But here's what they don't see. I'm also the guy who lies awake at 3 a.m., staring at the dark ceiling, wondering if choosing to simply love someone means I have to lose everything I've built with my own two hands. Wondering if being truly happy means I inevitably have to disappoint someone else, my mother, my brothers, the millions. Wondering if there's even a single version of my life where I get to keep both my love and my legacy. I hadn't expected the news to travel as fast as it did, or to cause such immediate shockwaves. I hadn't even prepared an official announcement, a carefully worded statement. I just mentioned it casually, slipping it into the conversation over dinner at my parents' house. It wasn't even a dramatic, planned reveal. I just said, as I reached for a dish, "There's someone I love, and I think I want to spend the rest of my life with her." That's all. That's exactly what I said, and the silence that followed it was devastatingly loud. I know that sounds like a contradiction, a cheap metaphor, but I swear, I have never heard silence so sharp, so heavy in my entire life. My mom just stared down at